All right, let's talk about the brand new Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. I mean, this thing launched with so much buzz, right? But also a whole lot of controversy. So what's the real story here? Is it all hype? We're going to dive in and find out.
So right off the bat, a couple of really big questions have been popping up everywhere. Like, did Samsung's cool new privacy screen actually make the display worse? And how in the world does a phone that's technically thinner end up feeling bigger? It kind of sounds impossible, right?
And, this quote from X-Tech Air, it just hits the nail on the head. If you just look at the spec sheet, you might think, meh, this is the smallest upgrade ever. But that's the thing. The spec sheet never tells the whole story. What it's like in the real world can be a totally different experience.
So that's exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to separate the hype from what's actually real with this new phone. We're going to look past all those big marketing numbers and really get into what it's like to use this thing every single day. And first up, we have to talk about the most controversial feature.
Okay, Section 1, the super controversial new screen. Is this a case of innovation at a cost? We're talking about the new privacy display, of course. Samsung's calling it a game changer for privacy, but almost immediately, people started talking about a potential drop in quality. Let's see what's what.
So how does this thing even work? Well, it all comes down to something called privacy pixels. And this is important. It's not just a software trick. It's an actual physical hardware layer built right into the screen. Now, here's the catch. Even when you have privacy mode turned off, these special pixels are just a little bit dimmer than the regular ones. And that's where the whole controversy comes from, that slight dimness you might notice when you look at the screen from the side.
Okay, so here's the real trade-off, laid out plain and simple. On the one hand, the pros are actually pretty huge. When you crank it up to max, it's seriously effective. Like the person next to you on the bus has zero chance of reading your texts. And the software is smart about it too. You can tell it to only turn on for certain apps, like your banking app or WhatsApp. But there's always the but, right? On the other side, when it's on, the screen is definitely dimmer. And even when it's off, it's just a tiny bit more reflective than the S25 Ultra. Honestly though, for most people, I think this is going to feel like a pretty small price to pay for a really powerful new privacy feature.
All right, let's talk about the design, because this is another one of those thinner on paper but bigger in hand situations. It's a bit of a head-scratcher. The specs say one thing, but how it actually feels, well, that's a whole other story.
So here are the numbers right from Samsung. We've got 7.9 millimeters thick, which is down from 8.2 on the S25. It's a difference, for sure. You can also see they switched back to armor aluminum from titanium, so on paper it's thinner. But hold that thought, because this is what the spec sheet doesn't tell you. That camera bump, it's a whole millimeter taller. That's why the phone wobbles like crazy when you put it on a desk. It's kind of annoying, and it definitely makes the whole thing feel bigger. Now, it's not all bad. The corners are rounder, which is way more comfortable to hold, no question. Oh, and a little heads up for all you S Pen fans. The new pen is tapered. That means you have to put it back in the right way, or it won't fit. You'll get used to it, but it's a change.
Okay, on to the cameras. This one's interesting. They've upgraded them, but they're using the same sensors as last year. So what gives? Does a new lens really make all the difference? Well, the secret here isn't the sensor. It's the glass in front of it.
And here's the key change, the aperture on that main camera. It went from f1.7 to f1.4. Now, if you're not a camera nerd, all you need to know is that a lower number is better. Think of it like a bigger window. A bigger window lets in more light, and more light is a huge deal for your photos, especially when it's dark. And that bigger window for light, that's how Samsung can claim this, a whopping 47% brighter low-light video. It's a massive marketing number, but it's directly tied to that new lens. It's what takes a shot that used to be super dark and grainy and makes it way clearer. They also added this crazy new software feature called Horizon Lock. And when I say crazy, I mean it. You turn it on and your video stays perfectly level. You could literally spin the phone in a full circle and the horizon just stays locked. It's like having a Hollywood-style gimbal in your pocket. But, and it's a big but, there's a trade-off. It has to crop in on the sensor, so you're limited to 1440p resolution and it really doesn't look great in low light.
Moving on to performance and power. And honestly, this thing is a surprisingly efficient beast. It's not just about how fast it is out of the gate, but how it keeps that speed up without killing the battery.
Check this out. This chart tells a really important story about performance over time. So you start a 20-minute heavy-duty test, and the S26 is about 9% faster. Okay, cool. But look what happens at the end of the test. It's now 17% faster. Why? because it has this massive new cooling system inside that stops it from getting too hot and slowing down. That's what we mean by sustained performance.
And that new chip is also a total sipper when it comes to battery. Get this, it has the exact same size battery as last year's phone, but in a 14-hour video test, it ended with 46% left. That's a huge leap from the S25's 37%, and it's getting dangerously close to the iPhone, which is kind of famous for its battery life. That is seriously impressive.
And of course, you can't have a new phone these days without a boatload of AI features. So let's put Galaxy AI to the test. Is this stuff actually a game changer, or is it just a bunch of gimmicks?
So I think the AI features really break down into two main groups. You've got the stuff that is genuinely helpful, like Audio Eraser, that can just magically remove background noise from a video. Super useful. Or Now Nudge, which gives you these clever little shortcuts right when you need them. Then you've got the other camp, which is more fun and still developing. Things like making AI stickers or doing crazy AI photo edits. Cool to play with, but maybe not something you'll use every single day.
Okay, so let's wrap this all up. The screen, the design, the cameras, the performance. It's time for the final verdict. Who should actually go out and buy this thing? Let's break it down.
Here's the bottom line. If you've got last year's S25 Ultra, honestly, just skip it. The new features are cool, but it's not a big enough jump to justify upgrading after just 1 year. Now, if you're on an S24 Ultra, it's a different story. It's something to consider for sure, especially if that new privacy screen or the better video really appeal to you. But if you have any phone older than that, yeah, this is a no-brainer. It's a huge leap forward, and you should absolutely upgrade.
And that kind of leaves us with one final big question to think about. See, the S26 Ultra, it's not some massive leap in pure hardware power. The most important upgrades here are smart features, things driven by software, like that privacy screen and all the AI stuff. And it really makes you wonder, right? As we see hardware innovation start to level off a bit, are we moving into a new era? An era where the smarter phone is actually better than the stronger one. Food for thought. Thanks so much for tuning in.